Welcome back to Comic Book History, Episode 7. This one I'm talking about Marvel Max. Yes, Marvel's answer to the Vertigo imprint. Launched in 2001, and it's still around despite the fact Marvel has not published a comic for it since 2013. The first comic they published under this imprint was Alias, a comic written by Brian Michael Bendis, which originally the comic was supposed to be for Jessica Drew, but because Jessica Drew was unavailable at that point, Bendis like, I like name Jessica. I know, how about create a brand spanking new character with the name Jessica, call her Jessica Jones, and also retcon it that she is Rick Jones' cousin. I am not kidding, that was simply the plan for the series. And of course, there was a few issues where Mark Bagley was in the artwork, but generally the artwork was done by let's see. The artwork was done by Michael Gayos. Yes, Michael Gayos he's the interior artist for the book. But this is the comic. This, along with Fury Max, pretty much started off the imprint. The last comic published under this imprint was Phantom X, which, okay, fine. I mean, the characters are Grant Morrison characters, so I think it was like a 6-issue limited series, and the comic is kind of set in the 616 universe, but it's never been officially confirmed. But a majority of the comics published in the Max imprint were set in the 616 universe, but these following comics were not. And these following comics were... One seconds back up. The following comics that were not were Deadpool Max, the stuff with Squadron Supreme, Fury obviously, the Punisher, Fool Killer, Strange Tales Max, US War Machine, and Deadpool Max. But generally a good chunk of these were set in the 616 universe, just not every single one were. Basically, there was a shared universe between a few of the Max books, and that was simply Punisher, the two Fool Killer books, Nick Fury, and Punisher Born. Punisher Born is what started off the imprint, that started off the universe. And you have these 5 series along with the second volume of Fury Max, and Punisher Max, and Wolverine Max. Now, out of all the titles that Max Imprint published, the Punisher was the most successful because he made sense to be published on this imprint. Nick Fury definitely did too. A lot of these characters did. US War Machine, which is a comic that is not set in the 616 universe, nor is it set in the I think it is possibly set in the same universe that the Punisher Max is set in, but it's never officially confirmed. It simply puts US War Machine is the Max version of Iron Man. That's essentially what the book is. A lot of these books tend to be either very few of them tend to be ongoing series, but a lot of them tend to be limited series. Now, some of you might be asking, why isn't there a Max comic out right now? Simple. Disney. Yeah. It just by sheer coincidence that 4 years after they bought Marvel, they kind of, in a way, ceased Marvel Max. Now, that was one thing I was kind of worried about when Disney bought Marvel back in 2009, that they were going to cease publication of the Max imprint. But the Max imprint is still around, except that nothing's published underneath it. Stan Lee himself has actually openly criticized the actual imprint, and he criticized the Nick Fury book as saying that this is not the character he created with Jack Kirby back in the 60s. Well, this is not his character. Even though it is an essentially different character, I, of course, have never had a problem with the Max version of Nick Fury, though I have not read the Fury Max book. I have not read every single book under this imprint. I've read some of them, but not all of them. If you may have a list of the books I have read, Blade Volume 5, which was published on the Max imprint, Born, Cage Volume 2, Alias, Dr. Spectrum, Howard the Duck, Volume 3. This was one by Steve Gerber. Venom-X, of course, the Punisher book. Punisher Volume 6 has Punisher Frank Castle Max. Punisher Max. Strange Tales Max. Supreme Power Hyperion. Supreme Power Nighthawk. And, of course, X-Men Phoenix Legacy of Fire. The last 2 issues of this miniseries were published under the Max Imprint. Despite the fact it is set in the 616 universe. Now, why hasn't Marvel published anything under it? I don't know why. I would think that since it's been 3 years and Punisher has got basically a new string of popularity thanks to the Netflix version, I would kind of think that with the Punisher series back and of course Jessica Jones, and of course it's published under the parental advisory, which in my opinion is like saying that it's a Max comic but it's not. Now, what essentially is the Max Imprint? What can Marvel do under this imprint? Well, they're allowed to swear, have a lot of violence, show off lots and lots of nudity, and lots of sex. What do I mean by that? Let's see. How about showing off a woman who can walk around butt naked in a comic for really no reason? Now, Marvel has something like this with Epic Comics with 70s. I will get to that. So I'll talk about the imprint in another episode, but this I want to talk about Marvel Max because it's an active imprint, but nothing is being done with it. If I would think that anything would work under the Max imprint, Iron Man would definitely work, especially since even though Tony Stark is no longer around, you can still do a Max version of him. And I'm not suggesting having Brian Michael Bendis read it because the guy's got a lot of comics under his plate right now. Maybe have like Greg Hurwitz write it. It'd be either a great job at Punisher. Why not do the same thing with Iron Man? Iron Man would definitely work. Thor works perfectly under this Max imprint. Thor's had there was a miniseries called Thor Vikings, which was technically Thor's only comic book published on the Max imprint. Now I've always wondered this question. Would Spider-Man ever work in the Max imprint? Maybe, if you can change him a little bit, but keep the core values that he's normally associated with. You could, but it would have to be very hard to distinguish it from the 616 Spider-Man. For one thing, they would have to change his costume completely to where it's a costume he would never wear in the 616 universe. I mean, aside from the Marvel Noir costume, you got to give a costume that could work, definitely. And, of course, the artist would love to show up Peter Parker's rear end in a panel. Plus, also, if, let's say, if he's having sex with any female character, the artist will probably show off their naughty bits as well. But that's simply what it's basically an imprint for adults. That's essentially what it is. Now, Marvel has re-released the Punisher comic book in a new series of trades. They have done it for that particular comic book, but I should also point out there was plans to do a series for Ant-Man and Deathlock, but nothing was done with it at all. Aside from Iron Man and Captain America, is there any other character some could say could work under the Max imprint? Let me think. A character who could work under this imprint. I mean, Jessica Jones, obviously. Luke Cage definitely has had one, so basically he's had a chance. I would say Iron Fist. He would be perfect, and he's never had a Max series. Shang-Chi has, but Iron Fist has not. Let's see, who else would be good? Hawkeye might be interesting, because DC did something quite similar to Green Arrow when Mike Rowe was in the book for mature readers only, which essentially was the precursor to the Vertigo imprint. So technically you can have working for Hawkeye. Let's see, is there any other character they could do it for? If they wanted to, they can do Carol Danvers. Probably definitely as either Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel, depends on what to do, but Carol Danvers would work. Definitely Jessica Drew. Some of the more established characters can definitely work. the Prowler work under this imprint? No. There's nothing. I don't know what you can do with the Prowler in the Max Imprint. But there's some characters who can do stuff with. Now, in the case of Captain America, the only things I can think of they can do for him is like have stories set in World War II, or have some of them set in present day, and have nothing to do with what's going on. And you can have him wear pretty much the same costume that he's known for wearing. Just that you can have him killing people if you wanted to, or basically having where he's banging Sharon Carter whenever he feels like it. That's just the way that I would put it. That he would be having sex with Sharon Carter every other issue, and he would be killing a lot of bad guys. And be some plot there, but that's the only thing I would do with Captain America. A lot of these characters simply that's what I would do with them. Iron Man, him basically have it where sleeps with various women, fights a bunch of bad guys, maybe fight the Mandarin. That might be interesting. But Spider-Man, well, I wouldn't say for him not killing anybody. He'd probably beat a lot of people up. But I think they might use the Max Imprint just to have him basically just actually having on-panel sex with female characters. It's the only thing I would think that Marvel would do with Spider-Man if he was published on the Max Imprint. Essentially, but they can have him fight the same villains. And the other thing that would work with Spider-Man is that you can actually have him depicting him having sex with one of the female characters. It's the only thing I can think of when it comes to Spider-Man. Wolverine, you can do whatever you want with him. Even though he's had one, but I wouldn't mind seeing another one for him. But there's a bunch of characters you can do it for. Let me think. Is there any other characters I could use a try at the Max Imprint? The Black Panther might be interesting. And have it where his love interest is Storm. That's my best idea for that. There's various different writers you can have writing this imprint. Bendis could do it again, but the guy's like super busy. Lemire could do it. He's done mature stuff before, especially since he's done some work for Vertigo. You can also have Rick Hurwitz write it again. Warren Ellis definitely. And please let the book come on time like Karnak. Any female writers could do it. I think Killa Suhane can do it because she's currently writing that comic Bitch Planet. I'm not kidding. That's really what the title of the book is. Killa Suhane could definitely do it. Gail Simone could definitely do it because she's writing a book called Clean Room, which I'm not currently reading right now because I just don't have any interest to read it. So in fact, she's one of those writers that if she's on a comic book, I would read it. But Clean Room is the only comic book I've heard that she's writing now. But I've heard jack squat about it in months. But I don't know if the comic is even still being published. If I were Gail Simone, I would convince DC to allow her to bring back the Secret Six series because everybody who I've seen review it loved that series. I love it. I pretty much bought the first 2 issues of that volume when it was coming out. Though the comic was suffering through delays at that point, and of course when the comic ended, it was not suffering through delays. In the case of that version of Secret Six, definitely with the previous volume, you can tell more stories with it. And yes, I do know that Secret Six is having more comics published on that. It's having new trades. I do praise them for that. But come on, do more. But could any other could the X-Men work? They sound like they've had a couple comics published on the imprint, but could they have an X-Men comic set in the Max universe? It could definitely work. So could the Avengers. Heck, any team could work in the. The only team I can think could not work. The only teams I can think of could not work in the Max universe is, I think, on the Max Imprint. I think the Defenders definitely could not because it's just some stuff in there you could not do under the Max Imprint. Defenders is one of them. Young Avengers. Fantastic Four. No. Though I'm still hoping Fantastic Four coming back. But a lot of the comics I have read that have been published on the Max Imprint have been really good. The only one that's really bizarre is the Howard the Duck one. That was really bizarre, especially when he turns a mouse or he turns these various other characters. But in a future episode, not exactly maybe the next one per se, But I do plan to cover the Epic Imprint, the Epic Comics imprint, the original one, not the one that started in 2001 that was canceled the 1 year. But if Marvel did bring it back, either put some characters, have them try into the Max Imprint, or do what Vertigo's doing original content that's published on the Max Imprint, that's published on the Vertigo imprint right now. Marvel can use that method for Marvel Max, but with Disney in charge of them, who the heck knows? But that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, where I'm going to talk about, well, not Epic Comics. No, I'm not going to talk about Epic Comics. I'll talk about that maybe in episode 10. But next episode is episode 8. Well, what could I talk about in the next episode? Let me think. I could do Marvel Edge, but I don't know much about the imprint anyways. So I'd rather not talk about Marvel Edge because I haven't read that much underneath it, because the only thing I've read is Punisher and maybe a little bit Daredevil. Ooh, I know what I could talk about. The imprint that saved Marvel Comics. So, next episode, Marvel Knights. See you there. Bye.